Hello, everybody. It's time for another vlog. It's Joe Ditzel, your favorite comedian. Folks, how are you doing? I hope everything is good in your world. Today, we're going to take a look at Bryden Road in Columbus, Ohio, which is on the Near East Side. So let me back up a little. Some people have been asking me, what's with the vlogs, man? So the vlogs are something I added this summer, just as a way to provide a little bit more behind the scenes and daily life videos, in addition to my main web series, which is called Joe Ditzel Has Some Problems, which is more straight comedy. Well, I call it comedy. You might have a different opinion. So, in another, personal goal is to get into better shape. So to meet both those goals of shooting vlogs and getting in better shape, I bought a bike and, have been riding around town shooting video and putting them up on my channel. Bryden Road was a hot spot in the late 1800s, early 1900s. These are all big stately homes that were owned by many of the movers and shakers in town. And you're asking, well, who's a mover and shaker? Who are you talking about? Well, let me read to you, man, right off the Bryden Road Historic District sign. Bryden Road is named after James Bryden, a city councilman and county commissioner, who owned 135 acres here in the 1840s. By 1900, Bryden Road was known for its stately homes, canopy of elms, and the electrically lit metal arch at its west entrance. Now, that would be cool, right? In 1905. Some of the city's most prominent residents lived here, including Lorenzo English, who was mayor of the city for 5 times, Joseph Carr, founder and president of the National Football League. Did you know the NFL was established right here in Columbus, Ohio? You didn't know that, did you? In 1922. Also, the works of artists, I'm going to get this name wrong, somebody correct me, Alice Scheel and George Bellows Jr. George Bellows I recognize. Architects Joseph Yost and Florence Kenyon Rector and writer James Thurber are all part of the Bryden Road legacy. The homes remaining today represent a unique inventory of architectural styles: Italianate, Second Empire, Gothic Revival, Queen Anne, Foursquare. Foursquare? Isn't that an app? Tudor, Romanesque Revival. I have no idea what that is. Chateau-esque, Georgian Revival, Craftsman, and Prairie. Yeah. In my neighborhood in high school, we had one architectural style on my street. It was called tract home. Oh. So, I really find it fascinating, these old neighborhoods, because back in the day, it was a real neighborhood. People would walk on the streets, wave hello to their neighbors who sat on the porch. It was important to build a big porch of these old homes because after dinner or whatever time, people would sit on their porch. It was considered part of the living room. And so in a sense, the porches became the living room for the entire neighborhood because you'd walk by with your wife or your spouse or your dog and you're walking around. You'd wave hi to your neighbors. You'd share gossip. You'd share stories. And then when freeways were built, a lot of these old time neighborhoods went down. In fact, the crime rose. And, it's a repeated story around the country where old neighborhoods started to downtrend. But a core group, by the way, I'm just going by what I remember about what I read. If somebody has more accurate story than I'm telling you here, go ahead and leave it in the comments. But a core group of residents in the area fought back and they band together to get rid of the crime, get rid of the prostitution, rebuild the homes. And in the 60s and 70s, they worked hard to get the neighborhood that they had been living in for decades to take back their own neighborhood. So it was still a transitional neighborhood, though, in the 70s, meaning you could buy a cheap, big house. And so people that were interested in doing that, so, for example, young people, the gay community, artists, all of the people and other groups, but anybody interested in buying a big home that they could renovate and live in a relatively safe neighborhood, this was the place. This is one of the places in Columbus to do that. So it started to come back even more to the point where they decided to create the Bryden Road Historic District. And like other historic districts, they can dictate to you what you can or can't do to your house in order to keep the architectural styles consistent. But the only problem with that is that people that had worked hard to bring the neighborhood back from the brink of destruction were suddenly told what kind of paint they could use. How would that go over with you if you had spearheaded efforts to save the neighborhood and then somebody comes along and goes, you can't use that paint. But they worked it all out, and now it's popular with all types of groups, black, white, rich, poor, young, old. All kinds of people live in the neighborhood, and they have festivals and music festivals, and it's a whole scene. But just listing the wide variety of architectural styles that I just did off that historic marker is just amazing. Then you see an occasional modern apartment building. And then here you have an apartment building from the 80s. All right, look at this house right here. So really fun to go down the street. And later on, I'll have additional video. We'll do another vlog for other sections of town. But that's pretty much today's vlog, going down Bryden Road. I hope you enjoyed that. And look for an additional vlog from this area. We'll do it in a few days, maybe a week or so, just to give you an additional look at some of the homes in this community. Until then, I'll see you next time.